for my 36th birthday, which was February 24th, I thought it'd be fun to have a hypnotherapy session for past life memory regressions. And I figured on my birthday would be a more significant date. And I was able to book one that day, luckily. And it was through a friend of the family, my wife's cousin through marriage. But that made me feel like extra trustworthy. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, because I'm sure for a lot of people that want to do a hypnotherapy session for the first time, they might feel nervous. I would imagine that's just a natural feeling. Knowing that it was family that was going to do the hypnotherapy session made it a little easier for me to, I guess, relax, because that's what hypnosis is about. So I took it kind of seriously. So I often smoke a lot of herb. I'm a pretty regular pothead. But I specifically wasn't told to do this, but I specifically didn't get high for at least 24 hours before because I wanted to make sure I had a clear mind, and I wanted to make sure, it wasn't anything else besides just the hypnotherapy session. So I made a point to do that. I went after work one day and met up with the hypnotherapist. We talked for a little bit in the beginning, just because I guess I was trying to fill her out. Maybe she was trying to fill me out and see like the vibe that I put off or something like that. But then she was interesting. So she has a lot of knowledge, is what I came to the conclusion. She definitely has a gift. And she was naturally born with this gift, like undeniable. I don't want to say too many details, but she has knowledge in Reiki, acupuncture, hypnotherapy. This other technique was Tom Ring or Tom Ling, or it's some new stuff that incorporates all those plus quantum physics and some other stuff. I was impressed that she had so much knowledge and wasn't just, I guess, hypnotherapy only. So that was kind of cool. And then she had me fill out a questionnaire of, like, why am I doing this hypnotherapy session, more or less. Questions asking me about, what I have goals, to achieve from this session. And so why? Because I guess a lot of people go to deal with trauma, or maybe they want to deal with something because it's therapy, right? They want to deal with something that they might have troubles with. But for me, I was going out of curiosity, but more so because of a calling, because I have a calling to be like a medicine man or healer or shaman. So that was like the reason I wanted to go there, to learn more about a non-physical realm, a spiritual realm, or learn more different ways to get to the same thing, different parallels. So I wrote down it's a calling, and I told her specifically that, which she thought was very interesting. Obviously, she's in that field, so for her, I'm sure that was like, oh, cool. And then she started talking to me about some other, I guess, baseline questions. So one of the questions was if I need to, I guess, be guided to a peaceful place. She said, what's like a peaceful setting? So I didn't quite understand what she meant, so she was giving me some examples. So she was saying like, oh, well, some people, they choose like a beach paradise, tropical paradise, or some people choose like old summer camp that they had in the, one of their best childhood memories, or some people choose the vacation in the Alps in the snow that they used to go to, or something where they have some of their best memories, like good places like that. And I didn't have like a place that I had remembered, but I was like, yeah, I'll take the tropical beach paradise option if I need it. Well,
I could easily be relaxed.
Yeah, I'm like, definitely not snow. Definitely nothing cold. Well, so she needed a safe place. Not a safe word, but a safe place. I guess in case I get out of line or something. I don't know. And then another thing, one of the baselines that she set up was, what do I call a higher power? Because I guess for everybody that's different, which I didn't even think about it, but that makes sense. So what do I call, do I want to call a God or a creator or higher power or Allah? Who knows, right? So I said God or higher power or source or creator. Any of that stuff works. I was like, I'm pretty open. God works. Just use God. So then, obviously, you got to go to the bathroom, do any of that stuff, right? Make sure you get relaxed. So I get seated in her comfortable chair, which isn't completely laid back, but semi-reclined. She had pillows set up, so it was real comfortable. And then, once I get situated and comfortable, she starts to count me down. So here's my disclaimer. So everybody thinks of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, or at least I did. I think of I'm going to be hypnotized and put under. And the disclaimer is, it is nothing like that at all. From my experience, it was more like a guided meditation. So she starts to count me down, and the countdown's kind of like a 10. You start to get relaxed. 9, your whole head starting from the top of your body gets relaxed down to your ears. 8, your chin and your shoulders start to calm down, and 7, your whole chest and everything below gets. So it's a visual relaxation technique, which I am also familiar with through these YouTube videos that anybody could go on for guided meditation, of how to relax your body, I guess you could say part by part, to really make you focus on being truly relaxed. So then once she counts me down and I'm relaxed, I do feel relaxed. I still have a lot of thoughts because it's only natural. One technique that I've learned from meditation is when thoughts arise, don't pay them attention. Acknowledge that they're there, let them pass, and focus on my breath. In this situation, it's a little easier because I can focus on her words and her guidance. So that helps me not think about everything so much. But of course, honestly, it is still, your brain's still going and thinking, and you got to just put that aside and try and focus on what's going on. Once I get relaxed, she asks me to think about a memory from my childhood. And when I'm 10 years old, and think about a good memory from my childhood at 10 years old. And one of my good memories that I was thinking of from my childhood from 10 years old was camping. My family used to camp a lot. So one of the first things that came to my mind were the family camping trips. She didn't spend a lot of time on really visualizing that and trying to have me explain that. It was kind of, I guess, I would say a fast memory of that. And then, and this is comparing it to the other memories later on. And then she said, think of a time when you were 5 years old, a good memory. And instead of 5, I thought of my 4th birthday, which is funny because that's the picture that Sean posted of me and him.
Oh, wow.
But that was the good memory I had of when I was 5, but I was 4. And I knew I was remembering when I was 4, but close enough. So I was thinking of my 4th-year-old birthday party and all my family there. And I remember that was like a real big deal, a real big birthday party. And I thought I was the coolest. And that was a good feeling. And she counted me down to think of my 1-year-old memory. A memory when I was 1 year old is what she asked me to do. And I couldn't think of a 1-year-old memory, but I do have an infant memory that I do remember which is kind of cool and kind of rare. But I've already mentioned this to my family, so they've confirmed that it's a real memory. But I remember as an infant seeing girls running track. And at that time, my mom used to take me to go to my bigger sister's track meets. And I used to be bundled up in a blanket. And like my mom said, there was like one time that I like poked my head out. And I'm sure there's more than one time. But there's one time I poked my head out. So I probably remember seeing my sister running track. And I do remember it was long hair moving in the wind and girls running on a track. So I was thinking of my 1-year-old memory. And then she had me think about when I was in the womb. That's an interesting thing to try and think about. I didn't really have a memory. I was, I guess, imagining what it would be like to be inside of my mother's womb at that point. Because I can honestly say I didn't know what a memory that I had of that young would be like. But what I do know from reading books like Michael Newton's, what is it, Journey Out of the Body or Far Journeys or some Journey of Souls. Michael Newton's Journey of Souls. From reading that book, that talks about different hypnotherapist techniques on how to get people to past life memory regressions. So I did recognize that this was a technique from a book that I had read where they make you remember all the way back into the womb, and then they take you even before the womb where you are in, I guess you could say, a non-physical place, a spirit world or spirit world. So I did recognize that technique. But then she actually switched it up to a different technique, which I also recognized through guided meditation, which is you take a vessel to go to different places in time or in the non-physical spiritual world. So once she got me to the womb, she asked me to pick a vessel. And she gave me examples of vessels that I could pick. She said, you can pick an airplane or a train or a car or a bike or a horse or a magic carpet or a cloud. I think those were the ones she repeated a couple times through this experience. So when she gave me those options, the one that called to me was a horse. So I said a horse. And this was kind of like, I think, the first time I even said anything. So the whole time before that, she was guiding me, but she wasn't asking me anything. So I didn't have to reply. So I guess that helped me get in a good relaxed state is probably why she didn't ask me. She didn't want me to interact. But for some reason, horse called me. So she said, okay, you get on this horse and you're riding this horse, and it's a lot of visualization. And she's counting me down again. So she does a countdown while I'm on this horse, and in the countdown she's explaining that when I get to whatever number, I'm going to be in another destination, and I guess she probably does say in a past life, and I guess that's it. That's all I remember. Maybe she says other. I'm sure she says other stuff, but it's all recorded, and I'm waiting to get that recording. That's another one. But when she counts me down, she says you're going to get to your destination, and you're going to explain what you see. So she counts me down, and I explain what I see when I get there. So again, disclaimer, I'm not gonna lie, at this point I'm thinking, okay, this isn't much of hypnosis or memory. This is what I'm thinking, this feels like I'm grasping and using my imagination, and maybe it's not a memory, more so it's my imagination. But just go with it, right? That's what, I'm here now. I'm here to experience this, so let's go with it. But the disclaimer is naturally that's what I'm thinking, so it's like, okay, that's what it is. and let's see where this goes. And it does go somewhere. It does change later on. At any point, I could have opened my eyes and got up and said, hey, you know what? This isn't working for me. Or, you know what? I'm not playing pretend. Or, you know what? I thought this was going to be different, you know, at any time. But obviously, I didn't do that. So in the beginning, right then, at this moment, I could have been more relaxed because I know what meditation feels like. I wasn't very relaxed.
Okay.
It wasn't like a deep... it wasn't a deep meditative state for me at this point.
There you go.
And it wasn't like I wasn't that relaxed. I still had deeper to go. And it's funny that you mentioned that because after the session was over, I did tell her that. I gave her a little critique because I said in the beginning I could have took more time to get into a deeper state. But as I came to this place of my first life memory regression, the first thing that I saw when I was traveling on this horse and came to this place was a grassy field. And it was a yellow, dry grassy field, not like a very fresh one. It was, I would say, like a plain, like a Midwest plains of the United States. And I was just wandering. And I didn't get much, I would say. So then she starts asking me to explain how I look. I didn't really get anything this time, so I was honest. I was like, I don't know. You know, there wasn't much coming to me because I think I felt like I was using my imagination, and I didn't want to use my imagination. I wanted it to come to me like a memory, I guess. And then she was asking me, you know, what are you doing? And it was bland. It's like I'm just wandering alone by myself, no one around. And it's just a big grass field, yellow grass field. And then she asked me, like, what is your purpose in this life? I think. And these are reoccurring questions that she asked through all the different lives I've found out. But in this life, my purpose wasn't very clear. I'm like, to wander? I was like, I'm not sure. I guess just, you know, to explore is my purpose. And it wasn't, this was the first point that I came to, and it wasn't very much. And this is where, like I said, it was kind of like, am I making this up? Am I trying too hard? You know, I was a lot in my head. So she was okay with everything that I was saying. If I said I didn't know, she would move on to something else. Like, it was no big deal to her. But I guess, you know, I was wondering, like, is this it? You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I didn't feel silly. That's the one important thing, though. But during that experience, later on, I did get, like, a little more visual of what I look like, but again, maybe I was making it up. But I was like, I feel like I'm wearing a hat, like a cowboy hat. So maybe I was starting to paint the picture rather than remember the picture of a cowboy wandering in the plains of the U.S. or something like that, is kind of what it felt like. She asked me, how did I die in this life? So, like, fast forward to when you die. And I don't know. And I told her I don't know. It didn't really come to me on how I died in that life. So, again, it was very basic or very non-descriptive. And, like, I had to try. I felt like I had to try. So, we ended up going through that one kind of fast. The next time, so then after the death part, she then says, okay, that life is over and you're back on your vessel. And I'm back on this horse, and I get on the horse and start traveling again. And she starts the countdown process again of me traveling on the horse to my next destination. And when she counted down, this time, I was in a different place. And what I remember in this new place, when I arrived, the first thing, I didn't see anything. The first thing is I heard something. So I guess I'm a little more relaxed at this point because it came to me a little quicker, and it wasn't like I made it up so much. It felt like it just came to me. So the first thing I heard was water, like a stream, like water running. And then I started to see a stream. And she, asked me to describe what I saw. And I seen like a river or a creek or a stream, and in like a forest type setting. And I was fetching water. I was collecting water. And she asked me to describe she asked me to describe what I look like, but before I thought about what I look like, I felt I was like collecting water to bring back to my community or my tribe or something like that, right? So she asked me what I look like, and this time I actually got something. So this time I actually seen what I look like when I thought about, what do I look like? This time, as interesting as it was, I looked like a black woman fetching water, like I guess you could say African tribal wear. I would say not like ancient tribal, but not like nowadays, kind of mid old. I don't know. I didn't get a date, but I didn't feel like it was like a long time ago tribe. It felt still like, I guess
almost modern,
like pre-modern,
1800s.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But it definitely wasn't like ancient, and it wasn't like new. Because it was like colorful, like dashiki stuff. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like plants turned into or pelts turned into clothes. It was like cloth. It was like material, textiles. And I was fetching water to bring back to my community or my tribe. And I noticed I smiled a lot, and that was something that stood out in what do I look like. Part of what I looked like was I was always smiling, and I went back to, I forget if she navigated me back to, or I went back to, or she asked me something that made me go back to, but I went back to where my community or my tribe was. And she was asking me, I guess I'll go to the basic questions because I think she was asking me more stuff, but she was asking me like, what's the purpose of this life, right? So in this life, I felt my purpose was to contribute, to be a contribution to the community, to the tribe that I was in. And it was gratifying. It was a good feeling to contribute. And that was the purpose that I got out of it. I didn't have a spouse, or I didn't have kids. I was alone in the sense of like, family that I was directly having. But I was a part of my community, and that was like good enough. And I was very happy. I really seen myself smiling a lot. And then in that life, I was fast forward to how did I pass in that life. So in that life, I seen myself as an old woman in my hut or house, my shack, whatever you want to call it. It was more like a hut. And I was still like a smiling old woman, but I died of natural causes, is what I felt in that life. But I remember thinking like I was alone again in that life as an interesting thought. Like, the first one I was wandering all by myself. This one, I didn't have, I guess you could say family, even though maybe my tribe was my family, but I definitely noticed that. It's not like it bothered me. Didn't bother me in the other one either, actually. But it was something that I now mentally paid attention to, like, oh, that's interesting. And this one instantly was more vivid, more rich. But at this point, there wasn't a lot of smell. There wasn't a lot of like bodily feeling. But there was a lot more description, a lot more information that came when she asked these questions. And at this point, I'm thinking in my head, like, well, you know, I'm probably not making this up, or this is a lot more imagination. I'm a real good storyteller, you know.
Shit was getting real.
This is where it started getting interesting for me. I will say that. This is for sure where it started getting interesting, where I was just trusting the process, and the process was starting to work on me. That's a good way of putting it. At this one, I felt like I wasn't trying so much, and when she would ask the questions, it would kind of snowball a little bit of information to me. So she would ask something that I would think about, and then I would think about it and answer, and that would lead to more. Just like your brain works normally, it starts to chain these remembering things together, or chain these ideas together. You start having chains of things. It was more so like they would be triggered by the question, and then it would keep going on its own until another question was asked. And sometimes even after the question was asked and I was answering that question, other things from the last question might have been coming back to me later. Like the first one, later on I ended up getting the feeling I was wearing a hat. Even though, like, she asked me in the beginning, hey, what do you look like? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't look like anything. I can't tell. But then it was like, well, oh, and I forgot to say that. I was a man. Oh, it's like, well, I feel like I'm a man riding a horse. You know what I mean? Because she does ask that. Yeah, so that's a reoccurring question. Are you male or female? Another reoccurring question that she would ask throughout lives, and this is a common theme, is do you recognize anybody in this life in your life now? And I guess in these books that I've read, I've seen that as a reoccurring theme where people will like, oh, I remember the son that I had in this life was my brother now, or who knows. It's usually a weird mix-up like that. Or my wife in this life was my sister in another life, or something weird. Like, so a lot of the times the reoccurring theme will be you can recognize people that are in a different life with you, in a different body. That's something that I've read about, but for me, in my hypnotherapy session, in my experience in this one, nobody throughout all of these lives that I went through, nobody was somebody I recognized, which is interesting. Another question she asked me, because she knows the intent of why I was there, my calling, she asked me if I was a priest or shaman or medicine man or any type of healer or anything like that in any of these other lives. And no, not in any of these other lives was I any of that. And then towards the end of the life as the black woman in an African tribe, I died peacefully or of old age. And, she asked me if I fulfilled my life's purpose, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, what's the meaning of the life? And did I fulfill the purpose? And I felt like, yeah, there was closure with that. And with that life, it was, I would say, a good, positive life that was very happy. That one was a happy life. The other life before that was very, like, bland and nothing and blah, and I didn't have any, like, happy feelings with that. This one, I actually got, like, the feeling of being happy a lot, too. So that was kind of cool, because you do get the emotions. Like, in a dream, you get emotions. So that's kind of the good part. And then that life came to closure, and I got back on a vessel again. And this time, when I got back on a vessel. I think she asked me if I wanted to change vessels. So I think she asks if I want to change vessels every time. But this time I said yes. Last time I don't think I said anything. This time I said yes. And this time I changed my vessel to a magic carpet. Because I thought that would be fun. Because it was an option. So on the magic carpet, she tells me I'm on this magic carpet, and I'm going through to a different place, and counts me down, same process, and then when I get to my destination, explain where you're at and what it looks like. So this time I arrive in the magic carpet, and the first thing that comes to me is a giant mountain. And I see a big mountain, and it's kind of like overcast weather, kind of gray, but it's like a rocky mountain. And it was a lot of gray is what came to me first. And then she's asking me, am I a man or a woman, or what do I look like? And in this one, I'm a man. And I think before she asked me what I look like, I think what came to me, and this time it is a lot more, I'm in a more deeply relaxed state, and it is a lot more vivid. It's a lot easier for these things to come to me, and I'm not feeling like I'm making them up anymore. This time I feel like...
Not at all.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of just rolling in. So I noticed that there's a cave in this mountain that I'm living in. But she asked me, to describe what I look like. And in this one, I'm a brown male, kind of like, I guess, brown like complexion I am now. And I live in this cave, and I'm wearing like, what is it, peasant clothes is what I described it as. Like makeshift shoes and peasant clothes, and very poor, meager looking appearance. I believe I even had longer hair in this one, like long, naturally dirty and wild hair. And I'm living in this cave.
No shampoo.
Living in this cave, isolated from the rest of society, intentionally. And I can tell that I chose to not live in society. Like, I get the feeling that there is a civilization and society or something that I could be a part of, but I chose to live in this cave, in this mountain. And different visuals that come to me are like, I'm cooking over a fire. I made a fire and I'm cooking over a fire, and just living off the land. And she's asking me what the purpose of this life is, and what I'm doing and stuff like that. And I've chosen to isolate myself to find myself, to better know myself. And in that instance, I find it odd, again, I am alone. And I now think, like, okay, this is a reoccurring thing. Like, that's so weird that I'm alone. But, I mean, it is what it is. And then, I don't know where it was. It didn't feel like it was the United States. This mountain felt like, because she will ask you like where and when. This mountain felt like it was not the United States, probably another country. I don't know where at the time, but it wasn't like snowy cold. It was just like gray and overcast cold. Might have been like snowy at the mountaintop, but more so it was just gray and overcast and rocky. I remember that. And then I chosen to isolate to better know myself. I mean, that was the purpose of that life. A big contrast to the previous life of me being happy. Wasn't a lot of emotion. It was a lot of solitude, serenity, but like just, what's the word, solemn. So yeah, did I serve the purpose, or did I fulfill that life's purpose? Yes, that life's purpose was to find myself, and yeah, I served the purpose in that life, and it was satisfying. It wasn't it wasn't the last life. The last life was obviously a lot of smiles. Like, happy is the big takeaway from that last life. This one, I guess, was more like the first one, where it was just kind of emotionless, more of a isolated, quiet, quaint lifestyle, and not like I was laughing and having joy with others. The first one, the exploration, I guess, was the driver. That was the purpose of that life, to explore and just wander. But this one, it was inner exploration, intentional isolation to find myself. So we fast forward to the end of the life of me isolated, and she asks, how did I die in this life? So when I die in this life, I see myself in a hospital bed, and it's not like, so if I had to think of a time for this one, it's not like it's modern new stuff, but it is like a hospital facility where they take care of you. And I don't remember seeing like high-tech equipment or anything like that. I just remember I was in a care facility. In that lifetime, I remember looking at my clothing when I lived in the mountain as like peasant clothes, handmade makeshift clothes. If I were to go into the hospital, she didn't ask me what I was wearing there, so I don't remember. I would say the same stuff, but more so I remember being in a hospital bed. The doctor was wearing a robe, like a doctor's robe, is what I remember seeing. But it didn't feel like new, modern with new. I didn't see, because here's would have been my telltale sign, like technological devices, right?
Right.
Like, I didn't see a lot of machines. It wasn't like a hospital nowadays. It might have been like the poor hospital or something where they didn't have the machines, but it definitely was better than the life that I was living in the mountain, off the land. It was definitely like a place where they take care of you when you're gonna die if you're sick or ill or something. But I didn't have any specifics as to what I was wearing there. And if I were to say what the doctor was wearing, the doctor was wearing a doctor's robe. But maybe that was just what I saw as far as to signify that's a doctor. Because that's the way these visions kind of work. And then the way that I died, I wasn't specific, but I remember it was something on my left side. So I remember I was in the hospital for something wrong with my left side of my body. And I wasn't like an old man old, like I was middle-aged man old. It wasn't like I was naturally dying of natural causes. I was definitely there because some accident or some problem with my left side. And even in that vision, I didn't get what the answer was, but I assumed, now I guess this is part of the brain thinking, I assumed it was an accident that happened to me on the mountain of some sort. And that's what made me pass. But did I fulfill that life's journey or meaning? Yes. In that one, I chose to isolate myself, to find myself and know myself. And I did feel like I accomplished that in that life. And, that was a good life. It was just bland, kind of, simple. It was a simple life. And again, the reoccurring thing of being alone was striking me as I was thinking as a person now, striking me as an odd pattern that kept popping up, which I thought was odd. Like, oh, that's weird. I'm not very alone now, but I guess that was a reoccurring theme previously. But then, so that life that life I passed, and that one was over.
Any feelings?
I would say it was cold. I did feel that it was cold. Not snowy cold, but like overcast, gray, and cold was what I kept getting in that life, in that vision. As the cave-dwelling, isolated man, I died in the hospital bed. I served my purpose, and my purpose was to find myself. And then I get back on this magic carpet to go to the next destination. So my vessel is the magic carpet. Getting countdown again to the next destination. And by this time,
You're deep.
I'm convinced. Yeah, by this time I'm deep. But this time, like, I'm convinced, like, there's no way I'm making this up. Like, by this time, it's like, man, either I should be a story writer because my imagination is kicking in, or these are memories of past lives. So I'm definitely, like, going with it, and I'm starting to feel good about the results by this time. And things are flowing better, so that helps, you know, the experience as far as feeling like this is working and this is authentic. So I'm on the carpet, and we count down to this next destination. And this next destination, instead of the place being the first thing that I see, like the setting, the first thing that I see is a blue dress. So the first thing I see is myself. So in this life, I am wearing a blue Victorian dress, and I'm a blonde-haired woman. And that's what I see myself as. Blonde-haired woman in Victorian times. And I start getting the place after I see myself in this elaborate dress. And I see a big Victorian house, or maybe like down in the South, how they had those old plantation houses. Maybe something like that. And it's a trip because, like, this one's vivid, and this one, like, I hear the sounds of the house, and this one, it's like, it's rich, like the wood decoration in the house and how elaborate everything is in the house, and the experience in this life is more vivid and descriptive. And it's just flowing and coming to me more naturally. And, like, the feelings are more intense. And the information and the visual experience is more intense. And then, I would say, as she starts going through different parts of my life, and asking me, you know, what's around and what am I doing, the thing that stands out the most in this life is my husband. And in this life, I am a young blonde woman with an older husband. My husband's older than me, and he is a angry asshole of a man. And that's the thing that really stands out in this life. And I felt it, like, emotionally. I felt it. I felt his anger and his hatred, and it was intense. And I could tell that the hypnotherapist can sense my feeling. And I think she's a little sensitive to it because she was asking me like, hey, like, do you want to go somewhere else? You know, like, do you want to leave this vision? But no, I'm fine. You know, I'm curious. And I think, you know, for me, I'm okay. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. So especially if it's just all in my head, you know, no big deal. So this one, you know, I'm really feeling this guy's hatred and anger, and I don't get it. And I'm just like, why is he so angry? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But you know, she keeps asking me more questions, but that seems to be my main focus once I feel his energy and how he is and who he is as a person. But in that life, I have a boy and a girl. So I have 2 kids, and the purpose of my life in that life was to take care of my 2 kids, to make sure that they don't get influenced by this negative man, and I take care of the kids and do, I guess you could say, basic housewife duties, but nothing satisfies him, and it's just like the reoccurring feeling of just how bad of a person he is to me, and that was like the main emphasis of this life. And again, by this time it's more vivid, so I'm like feeling it. I'm like really feeling like, man, this guy's like such an asshole. So we fast forward to my death in this life, and in this life I see myself lying in bed sick. And the bed was in this house, and you know, the doctor or nurse would come and take care of me, but I for sure was young still, and I died of some illness where I was coughing a lot. I see myself coughing and dying in bed, and even in that moment on my deathbed, this husband of mine was still an angry, heartless. He still didn't care about me at all. And in fact, I remember that in this vision, like, he had someone lined up already to take my place. Like, he already had another female lined up to take the spot. So it was a lot of unpleasant feelings in this life. And this life was, it wasn't like a happy life. It was a troublesome life. And that's what I felt a lot. And it was mainly because of the husband. I think that was the obvious thing. And I guess, you know, did I fulfill my purpose in that life was, you know, one of the reoccurring questions. And I did. My purpose was to make sure the kids, you know, didn't get affected by this man's negativity. But I still didn't understand why he was such an angry person. So the hypnotherapist ended up asking, you know, and I guess this is why she asked those base questions. You know, do you want help from a higher power, or do you want God to help give you clarity to understand, you know, why he was so angry? And I said, yes, you know, yeah, I want some clarity, some closure, right? Who doesn't like closure, even if it's imaginary or a memory of a past life closure? So with the help of God, or a higher power, or whatever you want to call it, but I'll call it God. With the help of God, the answers that came to me were, he'll learn, he'll find out one day, you know, he'll learn one day. And that was it. And that was good enough, but I mean, that was it. Like, you know, that's just, it's just how he is, and he's going to learn one day. He'll figure it out. And I did my due diligence by, you know, raising the kids with the right compassion, so they have that in their life, you know. So that was a rough one, because it was an emotional experience in that life, and I felt the emotional experience. And the other one that was an emotional experience was a happy emotional experience, was the woman contributing to the tribe, and like everybody was smiling and I was smiling and it was happy. This one was like anger and fear, hatred. It was a lot of bad feelings.
When you were passing in that life, do you remember the kids at all? Prior to passing? I know you had the sentiment about the husband that was...
I don't remember them being right there. No, I don't. When I remember the kids, I remember taking care of them as young kids, not as like teenagers or anything like that. They were young, younger than, let's say, 12. And I think by the time I passed, I was probably still young is what I seen it as. But maybe they were just a little bit older, but I don't remember them being around when I was dying. Maybe because I wasn't taking care of them. Maybe because the new chick was taking care of them. I don't know exactly, but I do know when I was on my deathbed, the part that stood out to me the most is this dude still didn't care about me, and he already had another chick lined up. Like, he already had another wife ready. And that to me was like the biggest information and stuff that came to me. So this life passes as a blonde woman, and then I go onto a different vessel. So I chose a different vessel after this one. I wanted to switch it up.
Starship Trooper?
Yeah, well, because, I didn't want a reoccurring bad experience, I guess. Even though it's fine, it's, I guess, all in your head. So this time the vessel I chose was a cloud. I decided to hop on a cloud and float around. So she starts the process again of a countdown, and I'm going to be in a new destination and, explain what I experience, what I see. And we count down, and I'm on this cloud. And when I arrive to this next destination, this one is mind-boggling. So, mind you, the last experience was very rich. I'm in a very deeply meditative state or hypnotic state, whatever you want to call it. So, this time, the experiences are rich. And when I arrive, the first thing that I feel is I'm in a battle. And I land from this cloud into this place that is a battle, but nothing is clear, and it's just the feeling of a battle. And it's dark, and there's fast movement all around me, and there's like flashing of what could be explosions or could be lightning. So I'm starting to think like I'm in a battle, or maybe this is a storm. But it definitely feels like hard to describe situations. It's definitely something that didn't have physical things to describe. So she asked me, what do I look like? In this one, I don't look like anything. In this one, I for sure don't have a physical body like the sense of the other ones where I could describe what I'm wearing. Or I don't look like a person. I'm me, but there's nothing. Like when I'm trying to look at myself, I'm getting nothing. And I get the feeling like I'm here to battle, like I'm here to fight. As funny as it sounds, when I say battle and fight, what came to me was fist fighting, like physically fighting. But to me, and that was a physical thing, right? Like a body thing. But to me, what it felt like was an interpretation, or it was telling me that I'm fighting. Like, this is a battle. You're fighting. You have to fight. So what's the most basic form of fighting? Like the old, fisticuffs. There was no physical body. But when I got the interpretation of fighting, I did get the interpretation of physically fighting something. What was I fighting?
Was that interpretation or was that feeling?
Both, because you take a feeling and you interpret it, right? I mean, yeah, it was definitely both. It was, it was a feeling of fighting, and it's like, because I'm trying to figure out, like, what can I describe? when I'm trying to figure out what I can describe fighting, all I see is me swinging at nothing, like literally nothing. I'm not swinging at anything, but I'm like fighting. So then it's like, what am I fighting? I don't even know what I'm fighting. There's nothing for me to describe that I'm fighting. It's just like a stormy, dark place with flashing lights, and it's fast movement, and everything is hectic. A lot of distortion is what this one was.
Do you get a time frame?
This one was definitely no time. This one was definitely no place. I was not on a planet. I was not in a place. And I told her this too. I said, if anything, this is in space. If anything, right? This is in some sort of battle in space. I don't know what it was. So why am I battling? Like, what's the purpose of this battle, right? That's what we're trying to find out. The only thing that came to me is I'm battling to create, which is interesting that you say that, right?
Wow.
Because the thing that I felt is I'm in a fight to battle to create. That doesn't make much sense, but that's what I got. Like, that's what was given to me, right? That's the way it works at that point. You just take what's given. So I'm battling to create, and again, so the hypnotherapist, she's very responsive to this. Is also an unpleasant environment. This is a troublesome, hectic environment where like my facial expressions are probably doing this, and she's asking me if I want to leave this place, and no, I'm completely curious and I want to know more about this place. So the more we find out, so in the midst of this, we're trying to work through it because a lot of it is hard for me to explain. This is, I guess, non-physical stuff is extremely hard to explain. So this is a lot of distorted me trying to get through the distortion, and what ends up happening in this moment, which is interesting, is through this storm and battle and darkness with flashing, I see and feel the presence of a dragon. So I start to describe this dragon to the hypnotherapist. I said, oh, there's a dragon here. And as soon as I start saying there's a dragon here to describe it, because that's like the only thing I can describe that actually would make sense to describe, it goes away. It decides to go away. And I said, oh, the dragon didn't want me describing it. But it was like not like your Asian culture long serpent dragon. It was like your European culture winged beast dragon, like a brown dragon is what I seen. And yeah, as soon as I started describing it and saying there's a dragon there, I got the feeling it didn't want to be described, and it didn't like that, and it left. So that was interesting, and I don't know what the hell the dragon was about, but that happened. So then we fast forward to the death of this life. And the death of this life with no physical body wasn't really a death. It was just the end. And in the end, I was victorious. And, like what was the... Well, no, I'll explain the end. So when I was victorious in accomplishing the battle and successfully fighting the battle, this dark, fast-moving, flashing storm went away. And then a bright light came, and things were like light and good and felt good. And the purpose of this life was to fight, but this was like my hero moment. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, what, did you fulfill, the purpose of this life? But the purpose was the battle and to have my hero moment. For whatever that means, that's what came onto me. That was my hero moment. And that's, when I won the battle and light came and things felt good. And then the dragon came back, which was an interesting thing. And mind you, the dragon's not like a scary dragon. Like, it didn't scare me. It wasn't like something that, was trying to attack me. And I guess it wasn't even a good dragon, right? It was just the presence of a powerful dragon. And that's how it came to me. It was just there. I think that that is a life for me in a non-physical realm. And I think that the way to create, if you want to say, you're creating planets or people or whatever you want to say you're creating, this is my interpretation. The way to create is through a battle, as weird as that sounds. I mean, the way we're created, we come through our mother's womb, and how painful is that? So my interpretation is it's hard work to create something new, genuinely new. And I think in that life experience, I was a non-physical me doing my job as a creator, as someone who creates. The dragon, as a powerful presence, is just that. There is also and always some sort of a higher power, or some sort of a guide, or some sort of a bigger you, or a mythological powerful you, like you can't do it alone, like nothing you can ever do alone. As much as it is all you and all that stuff, there's always going to be,
I guess.
Yeah. To me, the dragon was simply the powerful presence, not good or bad, but powerful presence of the myth, right? The mythological thing. So a godly like presence is what I interpret it as.
Something more powerful than you.
Yeah.
Something higher.
And because a dragon is, because I was wanting to describe something so hard, it came in the form of a dragon. It could refer to my inner dragon. I think, and this is why my interpretation is, I think it's just the symbol of a powerful, higher power, or mythological, powerful, creature. But it didn't feel like me. That's for sure. It felt separate from me entirely. It didn't feel like I was the dragon, or there wasn't even like communication with the dragon. It wasn't even like that. It was just
like, oh, there's a dragon.
If there was any communication, it was a powerful presence. Like, I'm a big ass powerful dragon. The experience was intense, but very hard to describe. I do remember that. Like, it was so confusing because it was not of this world. It was out of these things that we describe on a common basis. So the dragon was one of the few things that I could describe of that experience. Because I am kind of convinced, like, these are past lives.
Right.
Like, I'm... at this point, I was sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at this point,
You're
I was
there.
sold. So to me, I think that was a alternative life. It could have been a future life. It could have been in a no-time life. I don't know how to describe that. But
a different realm.
could have been a past life. Could have been before time. Who knows?
Right.
Okay, that's the one that I asked for the hypnotherapist's opinion on. Because that was, so after the session, and the session's not over, but after the session, I asked her about, like, what was up with the dragon in that weird place that I was? And her interpretation was, she's like, I've been there before. She's like, I like to call that before time. So for her interpretation was that was before time.
Wow.
Before time, in the beginning, like some of the beginning forms of creation. And I kind of, so maybe she influenced my interpretation, where I think, like I said, and I don't think necessarily before time. I think as not in this physical incarnation, when I'm hanging out in my spiritual incarnation, just enjoying playing with time, because there is no time in a spirit world. I think that I create there too, but to create there, you're creating stars and galaxies and life, and you're creating atoms, you're creating structures of the essence of things. You know, this is my interpretation and my beliefs, or whatever you want to say. But I think in some way, shape, or form, I am a creator of these simulations that we are in. You know, like I'm a creator of things that are core essentials to different physical realities, you know. But the important part that I took away from that is it's a battle, it's a struggle, it's not easy, you know, it has to be that way. To build your muscles up, you got to break them down, right?
Yes.
It has to be that way.
Gotcha.
You know, and mentally it's that way too. You know, a lot of the times you go through the hard stuff to learn and appreciate the good stuff, you know. So I think in that life, that's what that one gave me, was a perspective of battling it out to be the hero, and I will create as a hero. And that is, I guess that's another thing. So since I am such an artist, maybe that's like a goal that really drives me. Like maybe I really look forward to creation. Maybe that's like something that I'm passionate about instinctively on a very subconscious level. I felt the fight. I felt the struggle. I felt the uneasiness. I wouldn't say I felt exhausted. There was an exhaustion. I think if I would have felt exhaustion, I would not have won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have defeated me. I think I felt how hard it was and how hard I had to fight. I felt like it wasn't going to be given to me. I had to fight for it. By this time, I was deep in it. By the time I got to the blonde woman, that's when I realized how deep in meditation or how deep in hypnosis I was, because I could not get away from the feelings of my husband in that life, and it was real feelings. So all right, so that fifth life is over, if you want to call it a life, and then I get back onto the cloud. And the good thing is, I do feel really good after I won the battle and I get the hero moment. Like, and I feel that hero moment, like it feeds my ego or whatever the hell is the ego. But like, I feel like I'm victorious, and that is a positive feeling, like that. And that's how it was defined to me, a hero moment, whatever that means to anybody. So then I get back on this cloud, and she's doing the countdown to another destination. And this is the final life, but I don't know that. But so already by now, I must be at least like an hour in. So then I'm on this cloud, and I get countdown to the next spot. And the next spot, the first thing that I see in this spot is myself. And when I get to this next destination, I notice I'm wearing a suit. And it's an emphasis on like how good I look in this one. And in this one, I'm wearing a nice suit. It's like the 20s, like 1920s, roaring 20s area. I'm a black man. And I look, and it's just emphasis on how good I look. Like, I look good. I'm dressed nice all the time, dressed to the nines. Like, that's, you know, the saying of the time, right? So I feel like $1 million, you know, and this one's a real good one. This one's a real happy, good feeling life, which is a good change from the last two that weren't so happy. And this one, I'm the owner of a speakeasy. I own a bar or business or club or whatever you want to call it. It's speakeasy. And I run my business really well. I'm successful. And it came to me. I even got the cops paid off. Like, I'm all good. I'm a ladies' man, and everybody wants to be me, and everybody, you know, likes talking to me, and I give people advice. And, you know, I own the place. Like, I'm the man. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great feeling. And again, I'm very deeply into this meditative state or hypnosis state. So things are very rich and vivid and vibrant, and it's a great experience. Like, the place I own, the club, like I could hear the music playing and see the dancers dancing and everybody having a good time, and I'm having a good time, and it's the happening place, so it was a real
Any gambling?
good experience. No, there was just drinking, dancing, and music. There wasn't any gambling. And I keep getting like the emphasis on how good I look, which is interesting because it makes me feel good. And everybody looks up to me, makes me feel good, and all my interactions with people seem like very positive. And mind you, if I own a bar, it's probably not the most positive place because alcoholics hang out there. But for me, the experience was a really good experience. And what's the meaning of this life is often the reoccurring process. And did I fulfill the purpose of this life, right? The meaning of this life is to learn that I don't have to be alone, that it's actually better to socialize and share and be social and have a lot more people involved. And I fulfilled that meaning. That's what the lesson was learned in that one. Probably also, as you were asking, do I think the sequence of the lives were meaningful? I think that I had to be shown something positive after 2 negatives in a row, or 2 troublesome experiences in a row. I probably had to have been shown something that was fun or good. Probably I maybe didn't have to, but I feel like that's what the message was there. And I definitely understood the benefit in camaraderie and socialism and getting everyone involved. That was definitely the core value lesson that I got out of that one. And then, how did I die? It's so funny how I died in this one. I laugh at it every time. So, how did I die in this life? I got shot in the abdomen on the floor of my business and died on the floor of my business. Got shot by what I would say is a peer, maybe a patron, maybe someone who was mad at me taking their business. I don't know, but it's not like the cop shot me. It was like a peer, someone who was one of my peers, shot me, and I died as like a middle-aged man in my own business, on the floor of my own business. And in that one, I was trying to see if anybody was people that I'd recognize from this life. But no, I kind of wanted to make it so. Mm-hmm. I kind of hoped and was like reaching to see, is this person? I thought one of the people might have been my sister. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's the case. Like I could tell I was forcing it. Because everything else was just coming to me. And that one, it's like, I'm trying to make it. So I was able to tell. Yeah, I was able to tell the difference at that point. But that life was definitely fun and good last life to have in that one. And then we did another exercise, which I definitely appreciated. But still, so I said this before, but I want to say it again. The whole time I'm in this deep meditation state or deep hypnosis state, I do feel like at any moment I could have opened my eyes and got up and been like, oh, well, that was all my imagination. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I was quote unquote stuck. I definitely felt like if I wanted to at any moment, I could just open my eyes and it would all go away. It's not like there was a mental something holding me back. The countdown process is very helpful. Because, okay, so as I learn now, listening to other things and here and there. But what I think that does, it helps you focus your intent for a longer period of time. Whereas if she were just to say, all right, now go to your next life. Well, in your head, you think, oh, it can't possibly be that easy to just go from this life to that life. So in your head, you got to do something to get there. You have to travel right? Even though this is traveling in your mind. But what that's doing is holding that intent in your mind for a longer period of time, holding your focus for a longer period of time of I'm going to be in the next life in 8, I'm going to be in the next life in 7, I'm going to be in the next life in 5. So that whole time that you're counting down, you're thinking I'm going to be in something else, I'm going to be in something else, I'm going to be in something else for a longer period of time.
Guided part of the guided meditation?
Yeah, definitely. But then, okay, so the important part about the guided meditation, and this is the next exercise. She's going to say and ask questions you would not be thinking of in your own meditative journey. This is important, right? So in my own meditative journey, I might not think of the same thing she's thinking of. She'll ask me stuff that, oh, I didn't think of that. Well, let me see. What is the name of my child or whatever the hell, right? But, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it'll come to you, sometimes it won't. And you live with that. Or, as she taught me, you ask God or you ask a higher power for help, and it does help. It does help. And it helps in that meditative state or hypnosis state really well, really fast, too. You ask for a prayer and it's answered instantly, damn near. It's an amazing thing if you're willing, right? If you're willing. But the next exercise I would have never thought to do on my own. So the next exercise we did was she brought me to a whiteboard. So it's a visualization exercise. So I'm standing in front of a whiteboard and I have a pen in my hand. And with my higher power and with God holding my hand, guiding the pen, I'm going to answer questions. That's an exercise I would have never thought of on my own. That's a brilliant exercise. So she asks me to write down which modality suits Santiago the best. If you don't know what modality means, modality is kind of like the method used. So modality, for example, is like Reiki healing or acupuncture healing or hypnotherapy or shamanism or there's I guess chiropractic is a modality, but it's a different means to get to some things like that, right? So then, because she knows I'm on a journey to become some sort of a shaman or healer or some sort of to do what she does, essentially, some sort of a healer. It's hard for me to really say one or the other because I'm not there yet. So I'm in front of this whiteboard and God is answering this question with my higher self, and the answer that gets written down, first word that I see is hug. And I'm thinking, well, that's not much, right? That's not saying a modality at all. That's very vague. And then the next word that pops up is love. And I'm like, well, okay, well, no shit, right? Like, oh, hug, love, yeah, of course, love. That's always a good thing to do. Hugging people is always a good thing to do, right? So nothing's like specific. And then the next thing that comes onto the board as we poke and prod more at this, next thing that's written is, and then, and I say, oh, looks like God has a sense of humor with me. Because apparently I know already, which I don't know. And that's part of what I'm here for, is seeking answers, right? Because I don't know. So then, that's a little frustrating because God has a sense of humor with me. He's like toying with me, which is, I laugh because it is funny. It's like, no, I don't. Okay. So, she asked, do I want more clarity? And it's like, yes, I would like more clarity. So we ask for God to give us more clarity. And in the process of doing this, this is where the profound happens. This is where something different happens, where there's some magic, as I like to call it, involved. This is what I came for, is what happens. And in that moment, when we ask for God to help me get some clarity, God doesn't write on the whiteboard. It comes to me. It's an impression in me. And the message I got was, your heart is pure. You're made for this. And then after I got that, there was a feeling of a warm, tingly sensation from the head all the way down my body. A feeling like if I was in a warm shower, or if a warm water balloon popped all over me and just poured down on me. And it was a feeling of, and this is a perfect segue to the question you asked me about when I was a child, did I feel any type of spirituality and religion? It was a feeling that would remind me of when I was a kid, and I would get that warm, tingly feeling from religion.
The Holy Ghost?
Yeah, if that's what you want to call it, right?
That's what they call it in church.
So, yeah, I got the Holy Ghost when I was a kid. It would come to me. Then that's how I knew there was some authenticity in religion, which is what this confirmation was in this hypnotherapy session, that there's authenticity in this session. And it was a warm, tingly feeling from head to toe in my whole body. It felt great. It was a very euphoric feeling. It was a very real thing. It was a miracle. It was magic. It was profound. It was extraordinary. It was inexplicable. It was something that, I guess people that don't experience this feeling may not understand. So I got confirmation that my heart is pure and I'm made for this, whatever that means. But to me, it was significant. And to me, it was a good point to end the session, because that was the feeling of, this is what I was here for, hoping to find. I was hoping to find something profound through a completely sober, altered state, through a state where I specifically didn't drink or smoke or do anything leading up to this, because I wanted to make sure that I was clear-minded and this was all happening within the sober Santiago. So I got that confirmation. I got that out of this world feeling and experience through a hypnotherapy session. And then that's when we ended the session. And she asked me, is this a good point to stop? I said yes. And she asked me that before, I think, and I said no, because I wanted to know more about the dragon place that I was at. And I think we ended up revisiting that again for some reason. And then she counts me to being awake. She counts me down to waking up. So then the interesting thing is, when I did come to, and I get up, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize how deep I was under. Did not realize how relaxed I really was, and how now that I'm back, I'm like, man, I did go somewhere. That was a trip. You do travel to these other places, and you can say it's past lives. A lot of people that are into Hindu, they will say it's the Akashic records. There's different ways to explain what it is, but for sure I was not in the physical senses. I didn't have sense of the physical body as much. That's how deeply in a meditative state or hypnotic state I was, where and again, my mind is saying at any moment you could open your eyes and get up, and that's true, but I probably would have tried to get up and fell back down. Mm-hmm. It is extremely hard to turn the brain off. The brain's always going to be the brain, and part of the brain is, oh, this ain't shit, You know what I mean? Like, oh,
I can just get up and walk away.
Yeah. Oh, you think you're experiencing something? Puh, you've already experienced real life. This isn't nothing. You know, this is all in your head. You know, the brain's gonna be the brain. It's gonna try and convince you of things. But yeah, I mean, that's what the brain's supposed to do.
Had some chats about that too, didn't
right?
we?
Yeah, it's made to do that. That's what helps you in life, believe it or not. And this is also a thing I'm learning, that you want to balance that. You know, it's not like you want to get rid of it completely, because then, you know, you wouldn't be able to do day-to-day tasks. So you got to find the balance of using your brain, using your intellect, but also still being connected to the reality that is the non-physical. You know, everybody's connected to that, whether they want to admit it or not, but we all have to sleep. Everybody goes to sleep. Everybody has dreams. Undeniably. That's the same, you know, reality that I'm talking about. And it's part of our reality. It's very real.
So would you say you were in a dream state?
Those are parallels. Yeah, that's all the same thing, right? That's all the parallels. Dream state, meditative state, hypnotic state, prayer. You know, prayer gets you there too. Complete physical exhaustion can get you there.
Correct.
You know, you could completely exert yourself physically. Starvation, fasting, you know. Yes. And the exact opposite from what I've heard. I haven't experienced this one. But the exact opposite can get you there, which is sensory deprivation. Isolating yourself in a cave in complete pitch black darkness for days on end. You'll start to hallucinate and tap into some out-of-worldly stuff, you know.
Go nuts.
Well, that is going nuts. Another important thing that I'd like to state for the record is, after this, you start to question, like, did I make it all up, or is it a real memory? Is it my imagination, or is it some real type of experience? Like, your brain wants to process, is it real or not? And a good takeaway that I heard someone else say, but it's very important to me for this experience. Even if it's... And it's funny because I said this to a friend of mine. So after I had this hypnotherapy session, a close friend of mine, she said she had gone to a hypnotherapist and had a hypnotherapy session, and she wanted to talk to me about it. And she had not said that to anybody else because she was kind of, I guess, afraid or timid of what people would think about her. Well, me, I'm the exact opposite. I'm like blabbing it out to the whole world, excited to share it with everyone. So she came up to me and said, hey, I want to talk about your experience, you know, and share my experience with you. That way, you know, we could kind of compare notes, right? Like, what did that person do to you? What did that, you know, what was it like for you? What was it like for me? And she explained the same thing, how she didn't know if she was making it up or if it was real, or, you know, everybody has those same thoughts. But later on, what I had text her was, even if it's your imagination, even if it's all in your head and you make it up, even if you're talking to yourself and you're having conversations to yourself in your head, what's important is the information. If you get important, valuable, significant information that you can use to help you grow, that can help you help you heal and be healthy, that can help you evolve, essentially, you know, it's valid. Like, it doesn't matter the source, and it doesn't matter, you know, if you think it's true or not, believe it or not. What matters is the important information gonna be valuable for you to use to benefit you. And that goes with everything. So the big takeaway is you can treat every experience that way. If you learn, you never lose. You know, that's the old saying. And if you're going through something where you think you're going to lose, if you see value and you take a lesson away from it, then you're taking that negative into a positive, you know. And to me, this was a very big point to be said with this hypnotherapy session, is even if it is all in my imagination, even if it's a past life memory or not, like, none of that really matters. The source doesn't even matter. It's like, am I learning? Am I getting something that's going to make me a better person? Is it going to help me in life? Well, yes, then yeah, then take it. If not, then it's a waste of time. Like, if you're getting nothing from it, it's a waste of time. And a lot of that has to do with your intent and how you go into things, but what you get out of it is also important. And that is, I guess, the end of my hypnotherapy session.